Hello, everybody. Welcome on today's Frogeex Green Tech Live. It's my great pleasure today to welcome Mr. Mauricio Cardenas Laverde, an architect from Studio Cardenas Conscious Design. So thank you so much, Mauricio, first of all, for coming and sharing with us your knowledge and experience.
Thank you, Jana, for inviting me. It's a real pleasure and a great opportunity. So I thank you deeply.
Very welcome. More than a pleasure for us also, as Frogeex is a green tech marketplace. We talk a lot about sustainable building, sustainable living, and that's the major intersections where we met with Mauricio and also the team from Studio Cardenas, because it's really the essence of working with bamboo, with natural materials, and the designs that they are proposing are just mind-blowing. So let me quickly introduce you some more details about Mauricio so you know who you are listening or watching today. Mauricio Cardenas is an architect whose career spans over 19 years, marked by innovation and sustainable design. As the founder of Studio Cardenas Conscious Design, his journey began at the Universidad de los Andes Architecture School of Colombia, followed by international experiences in Japan, USA, and Italy, where he earned also his PhD in sustainable design. Mauricio's expertise flourished in the prestigious roles at Meiji, Watanabe and Associates in Tokyo, at the Renzo Piano Building Workshop in Paris, and notably his leadership with the Arup Facade Engineering team in Milan solidified Arup's premier status in the facade engineering. In 2004, he founded Studio Cardenas Conscious Design in Milan, fostering innovation that harmonizes beauty, ecology, and innovation. His approach is evident in his diverse projects, including bamboo and wood structures, textile facades, and energy-efficient buildings. Mauricio's achievements include the globally acclaimed energy-efficient bamboo house in China, Rome's Tehond housing complex, and the Colombian pavilion at the Milan Expo 2015. Beyond his projects, he also educates as a professor at Politecnico di Milano and Tongji University in Shanghai. His impactful lectures span New York to Pretoria, and he was a notable speaker at the 2019 Bamboo International Congress in Beijing, as well, of course, at the European Bamboo Expo 2022. And greetings to Iraklis Kalamenios with this, and we look forward to the 23-24 session already. Designating him the Italian Design Ambassador in 2020 underscores his far-reaching influence. So with this, let me welcome Mauricio in the call today again. And it's quite clear that his design approach embodies conscious design, transformative architecture, and really this natural connection that is helping us to become more sustainable in the building and in the construction segment. So thank you so much, Mauritius, again. And with this, would you like to maybe share with us more about your work? That's like the regular structure that we have.
Absolutely. Basically, I will start for the introduction of my work with this slide, because this slide is what made me kind of change my mindset after having the experiences you mentioned, right? In important architecture offices, international architecture offices, and also academic in the academic, let's say, world. When I realized that the impact of the construction in the environment is so big, basically we have to understand that we're today, all of the newest buildings all of the latest buildings from the most important architects are built the same way that they used to be built in the 1950s, 1970s, So actually the construction industry has no real big innovations. And since the construction industry has, and this is, I got this from Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica, and this is just one of the many sources. It's just estimated that the building industry consumes half of the world's resources. For example, 16% of the planet's total fresh water, and 30 to 40% of all energy supplies, and 50% of the weight of the raw materials that are withdrawn from the Earth's surface. So it's crazy. and the waste in the landfills, 40 to 50% is attributed to construction, and construction accounts for 20 to 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So it's quite dramatic. So if we keep building the same way and we just start thinking about forms and more tilted, high, longitudinal, beautiful, is not enough. So we have to tackle the construction process, and as architects we have to work about this. And this is where natural materials are very strategic, and I'm in love with bamboo because of that. Bamboo is a strategical natural resource, and it just as a plant, it's already contributing at least 7 of the Sustainable Development Goals adopted by the United Nations. So and going back to uh, genius inspiration such as Leonardo da Vinci, he once said, "Nature is the source of all true knowledge." So we start keeping and looking at other architects' work and get inspired, but that's not enough. We should look at nature and we should look at natural materials. So that's where conscious design was came from. The philosophy was based on my experiences, both academic and professional, and that's the way we work. Like energy saving through technology in the context of an environmental crisis is not enough. So this means that we should definitely start tackling the issues of climate change and of the damage we do to the environment through understanding how to build, through the processes and application of natural materials for construction. And for us, in the first place, is bamboo, which we believe is the product of nature that best integrates the value of ecology, community, nutrition, and beauty. And there's many other natural materials which are interesting, and even some are not tangible, like it is natural light, or the heat of the sun. Those are also natural materials, and or natural ventilation, are natural materials as well. And we like to work with them as much as possible. So since 2004, this is our little reality studio in Milan, and we design, in fact, how to build. So we've been getting our own hands dirty to understand how can be the best way to build, and understanding that natural materials need to become accessible and easy to build in the context like Europe, which is an industrialized environment, right? Because mostly bamboo buildings, we can see more than 95% of the buildings we see in internet and bamboo constructions are in countries where specialized manpower is available. In Europe, there's no specialized manpower available for building with bamboo, but there's specialized manpower to build with different technologies, such as dry mounted structures, such as facades. So bamboo, that's how I designed these systems to build with bamboo. And bamboo is available. Here is an example just of Italy. In Italy, it's available in Vinci, the city where Leonardo was born, for example, in Venice, where Marco Polo was traveling to Asia, and in Como Lake, Versailles, in Tuscany. Even in Milan, we have bamboo can grow very nicely. And there's some species of bamboo which are already, we can already say that they are Italian, as myself. I'm Colombian, but living after 30 years in Italy, I'm Italian as well. So bamboo is becoming European, is becoming Italian, and it is already. So very fast, I'll show you some examples: small scale, medium scale, and large scale. These two projects were recently selected by the the Union of International Architects, the Architects International Union, Union Internationale des Architectes. It's based in France, for the guidebook of architecture for the 2030 agenda. So this system, dry mounted connections that can be built very easily in Europe with no specialized manpower. We did this small pavilion back in 2006. We built it ourselves, as I had no client. I have to admit, I was client of myself. It was how to say, yeah. I believe in it so much that I found sponsorships, and I was sponsored by several companies, and this is the result. imported bamboo from Colombia. This time there was no bamboo, or at least I had no knowledge about availability of bamboo in Italy. And then reuse the same bamboo to make another structure, also with dry connection. So it's designing the systems. It's not just making a building and giving it to the engineers and giving it to the construction companies for them to resolve, as usually, unfortunately, as usually is done by most architecture companies. But it's resolving the most important problems, which is how to build and how to make bamboo become contemporary and become European, in this case, Italian. So fastly, to just to show you, and here we see earth on the ground, there's soil on the ground. So the soil is another interesting material. Here is for giving weight to the cupola, giving the enough weight for it to be stable. But we can see it in a future project. We'll see it in the next project, how soil can be a very interesting construction material as well. The energy efficient bamboo house is a medium scale project, chosen, selected as well for the UIA guidebook for the 2030 agenda. It will be a guidebook to how to build sustainable, how to build in a way to respond to the climate to the today's climate situation. So this building is make part of this environment, which is a bamboo biennale. Several architects, we were invited, 10 architects, and I developed further, into a 3-story housing building, pushed forward this construction system, which is called Butek. And you see there's earth on the ground. I mean, the walls are made of round earth and bamboo. And you see bamboo is even the scaffolding. So even the construction site is much more warmer, much more friendly than a concrete or steel construction. This is the result. So even the interiors mostly is bamboo. And the idea is to push bamboo to the cities. So to be able to find bamboo projects in the cities as well, because it's in the cities where we have the most problems in terms of gas emissions and extreme heat. Now today in Milan is impossible. It's so hot. We're about 35 degrees, and we're just 10 in the morning. And large scale to finish fastly again. And we see so for you to understand that the bamboo is very powerful. 32-meter span. This is the way we work, very traditional, let's say, sketching models. And this is a construction site, minimizing the uses of concrete only where is necessary. So there is no concrete slab. There's only the supports of the arches are in concrete. And see how beautiful it's working with a natural material. You have to get in contact with it. You go to the forest. You go to see how it's bended. Even the construction is very amazing and fascinating. So bamboo basically has no limits. The limits are probably by the construction industry, which is just not open to change. They're just, or probably they haven't thought about it, or probably they haven't seen it. So hopefully they will soon see how possible it is to build with natural materials. Bamboo is one of them, and you can see how facades can be contemporary and glass and bamboo, and of course there's some steel and there's some aluminum. As bamboo, buildings are like human bodies made of different materials, and each material has its own purpose. And the soil, we use soil instead of concrete for the roof, and the soil, it's a garden. Then in the soil, the plants grow on the roof, and the impact. So it's giving back to the ground what you took from it, right? So the impact of the environment. And you see, imagine if the roof was the typical black roof, with the waterproof membrane, it will be so hot. Instead, like this, it absorbs the heat, and it also produces oxygen and absorbs carbon dioxide. I mean, so it's just a way of changing the way of thinking and trying to enjoy designing it from a different point of view, just not artistic but also getting into the construction process. Thank you very much. This was like a very fast, very fast show, very fast, how do you say, presentation. Thank you very
Wow,
much.
amazing, amazing, Mauricio. Love your work and so fascinated, being so fascinated with architecture and sustainability. Is just, one has to enjoy the pictures that you show and talking more about the elements. You also mentioned the blueprint. You mentioned the BUTEC, which we definitely want to hear more about. So, a series of questions that we already have here ready for you now. I welcome everybody that is watching or listening to the stream on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, where we are live now. Drop your questions or observations or whatever you would like to share with us on this topic in the comment section, so we can go to that in the following few minutes. And I believe it's going to be a packed, session with some rounds. So let's go into this with the first one now. Mauricio, you talked about so many elements. Let's just maybe start with the first one. We see a lot of these very innovative structures. Built in Asia. Now you start with buildings also in Europe, looking at Milan, etc. With this concept of building. We see flatter structures. Now we see also more multi-story, especially with the black facade that you introduced to us. Is there any concern regarding a regulation or codes, or many people are kind of very, very conservative in this area, and also rightfully so. What is your approach to this?
Well, like there is, since very recently, there are some codes, the ISO and UNI. These codes have to become European codes, which is the next step. But there's already some references. Of course, I can the ISO, for example, is the 22156 from 2021, and the UNI is 11842 of 2021 as well. And I think there's a recent one, but I don't have the code with me here at the moment. But anyways, it's easy to find in the internet. So there's some codes that can be used as reference. But still, it's necessary to make some testing, because bamboo is. We think of bamboo, but bamboo is, we're talking about 1,600 species, and I've built with only like 3 or 4 species, so the codes are specific for some species, and still there are very variables. No, not nature has this, which makes human crazy, is that it has so many, how do you say, so many possibilities. We usually try to reduce possibilities, and that's making a material into very simple. So of course we want to make bamboo into laminated bamboo or glue bamboo, to make it look the same and to be able to standard. We like standard, but natural materials are fascinated because they're not standard. So I think my feeling is that we have to find like a medium, a place where to meet. And it's as you see, the projects I showed today are built. It's possible to build with them, and possible if the codes are not yet there, you do some testing supported by labs, like in Italy, supported by the Politecnico University, the labs, and approved and after that you calculations plus testing, the results of the testing, and you can demonstrate the feasibility and how bamboo is how to say, respect the codes. It's not a problem. But it needs a little more of effort and of work. Of course, it's not good for lazy architects or clients that just want to make it a business and don't want to know anything about it. It's more at the moment. It's more for people that are conscious and are sensible to the future. And the future, it means the future of their own kids, of their own next generation, and not only of us.
Mm. I hear you. I definitely hear you. So you mentioned some species. What are the species that you mentioned three, four species that you particularly like to work with or have tested and kind of are safe to use also in the European context, maybe.
Like in Italy, it's a very difficult to pronounce, but there is this species that is considered an Italian bamboo because it's been here for a couple of centuries. It's Philostachys, so the family Philostachys, and it's called Viri di Glaudescens. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very, and to spell it, it will take me like a 15 minute or something, but Viri di Glaudescens. Okay, it's kind of, but it's easy to find it with the V, and you put Philostakis V, and probably will appear in Google quite easily. And also here we have Moso. It's called one that is called Moso, but it's called Philostakis pubescens. It's also from the family of Philostakis
Mm-hmm.
pubescens. That's what it's called Moso. The species that it's called Moso, and that's the one that I've used in China. It's very common in China.
Mm-hmm.
They also call it Mao, Mao Tzu, the bamboo Mao. And I've also used Guadua, which is the Colombian species tropical,
Mm-hmm.
Guadua angustifolia, which is considered the largest and strongest. But the Philostachys virideglaudescens in Italy is smaller in diameter, but it's resistant as Guadua. So I know these bamboos for the moment. Is the ones I have been had the opportunity to work with, but there's many more. And see, so like the codes have to focus on different species as well, and or probably it depends. As I mentioned before, there's nature has so many, um, how can I say, so many topics that it makes it more complex, but it makes it more fascinating.
Absolutely, absolutely, definitely agree. And you mentioned also this process of testing the material before you start building with it. I mean, can you maybe share with us what would be like the length of such a process to study that before you go actually into the implementation, into the realization of the building or project?
Sorry,
How much?
can
Sorry. How long would be the phase to study such properties of the material of bamboo? Half a year, year? How much do you need to plan in advance to have, material
you know,
being tested, proved to apply in the building?
nowadays there's so many database available databases. So actually, it's not as complex as before. You
Hmm.
can find this data quite easily, and you can share it with the engineers that will work together with you during the process.
Hmm.
Uh, so I think it's just like a normal project. I think the process will take like design phases. I always talk about at least 9 months.
Hmm.
I consider it as a pregnancy. It's the most important. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes clients want to make the design in 2 months, but I say you're going to have a premature baby. You have to give it time because it's the most important phase. It's the phase where you take all of the most important decisions, and it's very difficult to come back. And coming back sometimes it can be or impossible or very expensive. So at least I think 9 months of the creative process, this from concept to detailed design. It's still short, but it's good. So I think is the process is quite similar to any classic
Hmm.
building.
Hmm. I mean, also understanding, what the process is in product development, where majority of the waste is being or can be avoided during the design phase. I completely agree and support, what you're saying. And now, also, listening and following the way you build or design or uh, propose projects. The being connected to nature is a very natural element. This conscious design, when you choose materials and the approach, the orientation, water, and what you have. I mean, we're gonna come to that, I believe, if we have the time in the session today. But how much is, like, you mentioned also data, life cycle assessment important for you in the planning and the selection? How much do you use life cycle assessments for your projects? And yeah, what is your approach towards sustainability? Like, is it something you have? Is it how do you live it in
Like
a conscious design studio? Sorry.
I think absolutely every project is an amazing opportunity to learn more and to develop all the techniques further. So life cycle assessment is definitely a very important part of our design, and we have consultants. Like we don't do everything in house. We
Mm-hmm.
usually have support from consultants, and for example, from life cycle assessment, I have consultancies from Zurich. Edwin, it's a professor in Zurich. He has supported me on some projects, and also some from Colombia. I have support on some parts as they know bamboo very well as well, and engineering from I have support from UK or from Italy as well. So every project depends on the characteristics and also on the budget and the possibility. Uh, we create like even an orchestra whereas in architecture I have to be like the director in order to coordinate, but I get all have experts since I'm not an expert in everything. I just know a little of many things, but I need I need support of specialists, and that's what makes also the design process very fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, definitely, that's like a big motto: do hard work and have fun. It's always better. It's always a better atmosphere if you can achieve such a situation. So, absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit more about the technical elements and going more into the details. What about the structural performance of bamboo? We see many times a little bit of a concern or a discussion. There are studies that confirm, it's very strong, the bearing capacity of bamboo. What is your perspective? What is your experience on that? And do you use reinforce methods for bamboo or when building with bamboo? Or maybe you can share some thoughts on that with us.
Yeah, like bamboism is quite amazing. As you saw, 32-meter span arches were possible, and it's not just one bamboo, but it's 18 bamboos.
Hmm.
So you can make aggregations of bamboos. If one bamboo is not enough for the house, for example, the columns are four bamboos, and it depends on the species and on the requirements. You can add more, or you can add more elements to make the structure more stronger,
Hmm.
uh, not only from structural point of view but from other aspects. uh, um, so I think like I would not say reinforced bamboo because bamboo is doesn't need to be reinforced, but to cooperate with other materials. For example, our skeleton without muscles will just the bones will just fall down. It are the muscles and the tendons and that keep the structure. So the buildings need the same. They need tension. They need uh, several requirements, and you can use several materials, and it makes it more interesting, and more interesting like that. I think is not avoiding to use metal or glass or steel, but to change the quantity, because nowadays it's just concrete and pouring concrete like crazy, and also because it's a good business, for the companies, the construction companies. They the more materials they use, probably the more they earn. I don't know, but I usually find out that they're pouring more concrete than what they should. And
Hmm.
for 3-story houses, they make 30-centimeter high slabs. Something that I think it's impossible. Anyways, so yeah, I think bamboo is amazing. You can see from small projects to large projects. You can achieve everything, even high structures. But you need to make materials to work together. It's like our own body. We're made of many different type of, let's call it, materials.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So since you mentioned money, let's talk about money. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the costs. So is it what's the relation? I mean, building with bamboo compared to traditional construction methods, always a topic, always of interest for homeowners, developers, investors. What's your take on that? Where are we?
I think we have to talk about shell and core, which
Hmm.
means like the structure itself, right? The enclosed building, not the interiors, because then if you get into interiors, it depends on the materials you choose. You can choose very expensive or very cheap materials. But talking about shell and core, which means let's say the box. Bamboo is very competitive. What makes it not much cheaper, but around the same cost as a wooden structure, is that you need to do testing. Like bamboo structures, wood structures, the wood is standardized, and
Hmm.
so being standard, it can it's easy to calculate, easy to test. Probably you don't even have to do some prototypes and testing. Well, bamboo, you have to prototype, you have to do testing, you have a certification process which is quite long and can be complex, and that's an extra cost. So I think is the cost of bamboo is today is not cheaper than a metallic or wooden structure, but
Hmm.
it's not expensive, more expensive also.
Great, great, great
Yeah.
news also for all the bamboo lovers, which I believe are getting more. The community, the movement, the interest in this type of material is certainly growing for its versatility and application. And also, when we talk, you mentioned wood standardization, certification, and the bamboo alternative and sustainability. So, how does it for you come together? Do you see bamboo as an alternative to wood structures, or what's your take on that?
Um, I had a chance to design a house that it's built in Colombia, and since where I was born, Colombia, and when I learned about bamboo and where actually bamboo architecture comes from, it's from Colombia, not from Asia. I was really excited of the idea to build a bamboo house in Colombia. But when I went there, when I saw the place, it's a 3,000 meter high mountain in the outskirts of Bogota. Has nothing to do with bamboo. And I saw that not far away from the place there was um, a very low tech laminated wood company. I decided to do it with laminated bamboo. I thought I laminated wood. I understood that that was more sustainable than bringing the bamboo from another region, just for my own satisfaction. So this is to tell you that it depends on the place, the opportunity. Like it doesn't have to be always bamboo. I
Mhm.
mostly do bamboo projects because like destiny has taken me into that. But the house I built in Colombia, I designed and built in Colombia, is laminated wood because it was more sustainable, was cheaper, was developing the local economy, was local handcraft. I think it depends, but nowadays that in Europe bamboo is growing strongly,
Mhm.
bamboo is available. It can become a very important construction material. So it doesn't have to be the only one, and
Mhm.
it's impossible to be the only one because probably if we only build with bamboo, we'll have the same problem we're having now of plastics. There's too much. There's only bamboo. Bamboo will start taking the place of other trees and plants, which is not possible. Nature is made of. There's so many species, so many biodiversity that we have to keep. So it's always a matter of balance, of equilibrium, of consciousness. Take conscious decisions. Uh,
Hmm.
forgetting about your own ego or your own, you know, uh, pleasure, whatever. Hmm.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, wonderful point. Absolutely a great also bridge to our question from Peter Brunner. Thank you, Peter, for joining us. Maybe you can read it on the screen. This would be the question, Mauricio, for you. What do you think about easy to construct bamboo structures like a bus stop with solar roof, top to get a power island to charge mobile devices and run DC fridge?
Well, I imagine it can be very nice, of course.
So basically, the feedback would be possible. Maybe just to frame that,
It's absolutely possible. Yeah.
possible application, not so difficult to construct. Actually, maybe.
I mean, difficult. It's not a problem. I mean, if it's difficult, you do a biggest effort.
Mhm. I see, I see. And also, a very interesting topic. Maybe it's not so super close, but we heard also a lot of discussion on the Bamboo Expo as well during the presentations about the fire resistance of bamboo. Is there anything that you would like to give us on the way for structures on this?
That's another reason why it's not possible to use only bamboo. You know,
Hmm.
bamboo can be very fragile from fireproof point of view. In fact, some structures I use more bamboos than needed
Hmm.
to try to create an exterior layer of bamboos that if the structure unfortunately gets on fire, um, at least it will take more time for it to collapse. But what we do is we design the projects in order that there's very efficient fire escape strategy. We do a fire escape strategy. One of the consultancies, going back to consultancies, we use is a fire escaping consultants for making structures that are easy to escape in case of fire, and
Hmm.
also you use like sprinklers and water and making structures that are is less possible to reducing is maximum the possibility that it's on fire, and also reducing maximum the possibilities that somebody will get hurt, you know. Yeah.
Hmm. Absolutely. So, I mean, we would have another question regarding the BUTEC. So you mentioned BUTEC. Can you maybe describe us a little bit? If I understood correctly, it's the binding technology that you developed, the method, how you connect bamboo poles. One seems to get the impression you build a lot with natural bamboo. You don't use too much of cross-laminated bamboo or timber. So why is it so? Why is the decision like this? And I believe it's also a little bit connected to the technology that you developed. How to put the floors or the joints together. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the benefits or the difference of using this tech.
I use round pole bamboos because there is the natural bamboo. Is a bamboo that doesn't need an industrial process. So I find that fascinating. I find that revolutionary, and it's a strong message. You know, doesn't mean that I'm against laminated bamboo or glue bamboo, etc. But I I just kind of have a rejection to this way of thinking, which is transforming bamboo into another industrial product.
Hmm.
Uh, because I think the problem we're having at the moment is because of the industry. So I think we should change the industry, not change bamboo, which is much more difficult, of course.
Hmm.
Uh, and if we want to make money, we get a material which has a low cost, we transform it and we sell it with a high price. That's business, but which is very understandable. But the problem is that we're not resolving the main issues which are related with the environment. We're using glue, and laminated bamboo needs more glue than wood because the pieces you take from bamboo are smaller than the pieces of wood, so you need more glue to put them together, etc., etc. And it becomes heavy And one of the qualities of bamboos is that it's light. Um, Light and strong is this relationship between lightness and strength, which makes bamboo incredible.
Hmm.
It's like carbon fiber bamboo. If we want to talk about industrial products, you can compare it to carbon fiber more than steel. They call it vegetable steel, but it's works much more like carbon fibers, not like
Hmm.
steel. Anyways, um, that's my feeling. I hopefully the future or probably yeah the future develop the future industrial development would prove me wrong, but my feeling is that the natural bamboo or natural materials at their natural state are the best, and the revolution into the in the construction industry
Hmm.
is there. It's changing our mindset, not changing the materials.
Wow, I think that that is like an amazing bridge. Also, I think we're slightly, reaching our limit in terms of the time. So let's try to cover the last two questions, and just would like to highlight that fully with you in terms of the emissions that are being saved during processing of the materials. Definitely, it would help us a lot in terms of making more efficient, more optimal process. And what I really appreciate also from the design, from the architecture, from the artistic perspective is how you incorporate bamboo in the natural state, very ancient material, very natural raw material, then in a very, artistic way of building, a very contemporary, very modern way of building, which is, something that we need to kind of learn. You have all these clay, stone, whatever material, being used, and all of them are a little bit like, uh, you know, ancient buildings. Somebody likes that. Somebody is more into the modern, style of building, of designs, and many people kind of rediscover that only when they see, yes, it's possible. This is the form, and actually, it has so many benefits to it. Healthy, sustainability, natural conditions, whatever you have. So, really appreciate that. And the last question, which we would have to you, is basically, you mentioned also during your presentation today, the vision of getting bamboo into the city. So, how does this fascination, where does this fascination of bamboo come from? And how do you see that? How do you envision to get bamboo multi-story skyscrapers? I mean, it's a completely like a, very, very visionary idea. So, how do you see that? What is the challenges, maybe the opportunities? How do you intend this to happen?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of a dream, but you have because it's for me so
That's what
weird when when, when again I go to internet and Google bamboo architecture and all of these interesting forms bamboos. They're always in the jungle, in the tropics, in the Indonesia or South America. Very amazing natural environments, but those are the places that let's say uh, have less uh, environmental. It's not that they have less environmental problems, but it's not where the problem is not the origin of the problem, the forest. The origin of the problem is the city. So I think we should tackle the origin of the problem, where the problem comes from, which are the cities. I really envision and look forward to start building with bamboo in the cities. So making bamboo a construction material as all the others, and making important parts of the buildings can be made of bamboo, and it can be a mixture with other materials, of course. But that way, bamboo doesn't release carbon dioxide after it's been dried. So it will be buildings that can contain uh, embodied CO2. Can be buildings that, and it's also a strong message. Uh, Skyscrapers would can parts of the skyscrapers can be in bamboo, as well as part of the houses, part of many buildings, from one story to multi-story to high rises. But there's another question, like probably we don't need any more high rises. I don't know. Probably high
Mm.
rises were, as in medieval times, the tower of the rich people were the towers represented the rich people, right? Then in the Renaissance, were the churches represent. Then the industrial process were the chimneys with smoke, and nowadays is the skyscrapers that represent the power of a nation or of a bank or whatever. Probably is natural material buildings that should start becoming the next symbol. The symbol can be a bamboo building. The symbol of natural material buildings can be the symbol of the ecological age, and that's the mindset that we should look forward. Stop doing the same skyscrapers everywhere. If I go to Dubai, Milan, Shanghai, Zurich, and Bogota, I see the same skyscrapers everywhere. So as well as the same shops. You see the same brands.
Mm.
So and these same brand, all of these are who are causing the biggest damage to the planet. If we all change the mindset and change the way of doing things and and look for a new symbol, a new inspiration, and because I don't get excited anymore of seeing skyscrapers. I find them all the same. I will be very excited to see even if it's a small, a bamboo building in the middle of a city. That would be cool.
Absolutely, absolutely, fully support it. It's really like this type of ideas when you hear. Last time we had a discussion with Bernardo Scheikman from the Smart City Expo in Miami, and he was talking about the wood city in Stockholm that is being developed. So it's a little bit like already in the direction now. We have a new material,
Right.
less treated, more of, as you say, sources sustainably if you can, even locally. Now we have a lot of plantations, starting or happening. If you want it, if you like it or not, I mean, it's already starting. And it's a very interesting point that you also mentioned regarding the combination of materials. Peter, I see your comment in the section. Thanks a lot for being an active member of the community, as always. So let's read it out. And with this, I would say we're fine for today. Thank you so much, Mauricio, for being here with us. But let's read the comment first, and then let's make the kudos and thank you in the end. So Peter Brunner. So far, I learned natural bamboo poles keeping its hard surface is fire retardant by itself. I can look for the references. The joints of poles is the interesting part. In Gambia, it does not matter how to sell products as expensive as possible. It is much important to create local value, like housing and replacing concrete to reduce global warming. Do you agree, Mauricio?
I do agree. Yeah. I
So,
do I do agree that creating local value and is much more valuable than much more important than just making a business, because
great.
at the end it will be a great business.
Yes, creating local opportunities, letting local communities thrive. I mean, creating a future, especially in regions like
Exactly.
Gambia, and also many, many times the rural areas that can develop completely new concepts. So I believe it was
Absolutely.
an exciting discussion today with you. Thank you so much, Mauricio, for being here with us,
Thank you for this opportunity, Jana. I really appreciate.
and looking forward to do more on bamboo together and kind of share awareness and see what is possible, what is doable, and educate and build forward.
Thanks again, and thanks to everybody who
Thank you so much. If you would
came to
have
listen.
anything, pardon. If you have anything, let us know in the comments. There will be a replay available, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.
Bye bye.